everyone. I spend probably multiple days a week for 3 or 4 weeks putting together a 50-page document going over as much as I could put down about cold email. And so today I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to be kind of reading off of the doc, but I really want to read off of the doc to just add more color to the doc. Um, and the doc is going to be linked below in the YouTube video, and I hope that you just hopefully learn something. If you disagree with me, I would love to hear about it. And yeah, let's jump into the video. Let's jump in. The mission of this document is in order to give transparency around cold email campaigns. I wanted to give benchmarking, and I also wanted to show a little bit of the process that I personally go through when we create outbound cold email campaigns. So the reason I think transparency is important is I think a lot of times people share screenshots on LinkedIn and they, talk about, wow, our campaign is so amazingly great. My agency is so awesome. We can crush it for anybody. We do, all we do is win, blah, blah, blah. And oftentimes, if you look at those screenshots, they're showing campaigns with, less than 700 leads in it, which makes me think that they're probably emailing a list that they can email once, and that's it. That campaign's over. You don't have a predictable pipeline. You got a burst of really good leads. And then after that, you have to go kick rocks and try to figure out another campaign. And so I wanted to be extremely transparent about how we create campaigns and the success that we generate for campaigns as well. And then give some benchmarking. Clients come to us all the time and they say, what could we expect? And I always say, I don't know. And we're going to get into a couple of the reasons why. But at least with this, now we have some benchmarks where if you're reading this document, if you're watching this video, you can compare yourself to one of the campaigns that we've run in the past and think to yourself, okay, this is pretty similar. This is what we should be going for. Now, when it comes to this benchmarking, I also know we are not naive enough to say that we are the greatest outbound agency in the world. And so if you beat these numbers, please let me know. This is all about learning and sharing. And so I would love to see if anybody beat these numbers on a similar campaign. I'm not going to publicly put any of the customer names and things like that for obvious reasons, mostly to protect the campaigns that are working really well. And so if you say, I think this one's similar and we DM about it, happy to chat about that. And so then process. And so a big thing that I discuss with potential clients, current clients, and then with people on LinkedIn and people that I coach and things like that is that I think that cold email is a private ads network. And so what I mean by this in particular is the fact that just like LinkedIn, you don't go spend money on LinkedIn and spend $20,000 on LinkedIn ads, get 0 leads, and then say, LinkedIn is a terrible platform to be doing things. So oftentimes when people come to a cold email agency or they start running cold email themselves, they think to themselves, this has got to produce results, otherwise it doesn't work. And it cold email is not a salesperson, or it's not an agency that you can beat down and just squeeze meetings out of, right? It is a private ads network. You are in control of the impressions, right? So your open rate, even though open rates are inflated, I know, your open rate is how many impressions you're getting. And then the positive response rate is your click-through rate or your conversion there. And we have multiple campaigns that we're going to run through that are in industries that are hard to get responses from. And we show that it was hard to get responses from, or we show that, hey, with a really, really great offer, you can get responses. And so all of this goes into saying that I view cold email as a private ads network. Really, the bottom line of this means that you can have really fancy targeting, really great deliverability. You can pay a copywriter to do really fancy copywriting, but unless you have a really, really great offer, nothing matters. Your offer is more king than anything else, just like it would be if you're running Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads. And so we're going to go over quickly the cold email infrastructure. It's segmenting lead lists and things like this. So with the cold email infrastructure, here's the bottom line. If you go to smartlead.ai or instantly.ai and you look up the documentation that they have on the website, we're doing the same exact thing that they tell you to do. We're doing that. We're just doing it at scale. Currently, we manage over 10,000 inboxes in our main Smart Lead account, our main Instantly account, and then between all of our clients' accounts as well. We're managing 10,000 inboxes. So what I have solved as an agency is scale. If you think that we've got some special secret sauce and things like that, we really don't. It's exactly what you find on smartlead.ai and instantly.ai. So for your cold email infrastructure, this has good documentation on this, but if you just follow their documentation, you're going to be in a great place. Segmenting your lists. Personally, I talk a lot about this on my YouTube channel. I think the days of loading up a list of, companies in the banking industry with 50 to 200 employees and you're emailing the chief marketing officer, lists like that, I don't think are going to get you very far, unless your offer is fantastic. And so what we really focus on is segmenting our list into situations. So everybody talks about ideal customer profile, right? And so an ideal customer profile might look like what I just told you. 50 to 200 employees, banking industry, chief marketing officer. But I want you to start thinking about segmenting your list into situations. What's going on in the company that we could start messaging them about, and then we could send far better emails because of that. Because think about how much better of an email could you send if you know that it's a chief marketing officer with 50 to 100 employees and they're in the banking industry, and on their website, they have a Facebook ads pixel, or they're hiring for a marketing operations person, or they're hiring for a graphic designer, or their team has no graphic designers on the entire team internally. All of these things tell you something different. And so a good example that I use is for my agency. One email campaign we're running all the time is we're scoring SaaS companies to see whose DMARC record is incorrect. We want to see if it's their first time being a founder. We want to know, do they not have a technical background? Do they have a salesperson but no VP of sales? And are they hiring for more salespeople? And so this is a super, super segmented list. And so now this person is going to get a particular message because of all this data. We don't even need to use AI to write this message because we have so many data points about them. And then if you say, hey, Eric, that's going to shrink my list too much. Totally agree with you. So then what we do is we just pull out one of those pieces, and instead of looking for people hiring for salespeople, we just pull that out, and now we send a different message to that. So think about data segmentation, read through this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So sequence best practices. This is a hill that I will absolutely die on. Your best performing email in your sequence is email 1 and 2. I don't care what anybody says. I hear people all the time that's like, oh, my best performing email is email 6. If your best performing email is really email 6, go back and take email 6 and put it to email 1. I just don't believe you. If you were to take email 6 and put it into email 1, it's going to outperform what you had as email 6. Something's going on where that messaging is resonating better. But if you set things up properly, email 1 is going to get more positive responses than any other email in your campaign. So now, when this comes to sequence length, I see a lot of people still talking about 7, 8, 9, email long sequences. We just don't do that. We found that 4 is the most that will go, and I'm even really now leaning more towards 3 emails in a sequence. And so the reason I say this is because, yeah, you might be getting those positive responses later in your sequence. But honestly, if you email somebody about needing accounting services, and then by the time they get the 9th email in their sequence, it's 4 months later, the business has just changed. And so now that you've sent all of these emails to people, you haven't refreshed any of the data, you haven't reloaded it and figured out more things about their company. The amount of people who are marking you as spam with the more emails that you send, sure, you're going to get that 1 or 2 positive response, but it's not worth the amount of people who are going to mark you as spam. And so we use basically this sequence structure. So we send email 1, net new email, subject line, everything. And I'll go into what we say in each email. Then we'll follow up to that email with a threaded email. Usually in that email, we're saying things that we didn't have time to say in the first email. And then email 3, completely net new email. Why do we do this? Some people, they'll follow up 3 times in the same thread. I don't like to do that. The big reason I don't like to do that is because when I receive those messages, I get 3 emails in a thread, and I just see a big fat reminder about 3 times, well, I guess 2 times before that you tried to message me, and I ignored you, and I'm just going to continue ignoring you, right? And so we send a net new email so that Maybe they'll forget about the other emails that we sent, and then we can catch them at a different time. We'll talk about how we structure email 3. And then email 4, we use as a breakup email that's threaded to email 3. We don't actually break up with them and say something stupid like, I wonder if you got eaten by a hippo because that's the only reason you wouldn't respond to my emails. We don't say stupid stuff like that. And we don't say stupid stuff like, I'm going to close your file and never email you again, because that's not true. I actually want to email them again, but after we refresh the data, get a better idea of our customers, do better testing, and all of those things. Okay, so in email 1, this is generally our structure. So I like to combine, so if you're looking at email copywriting, in my opinion, the best people for email copywriting is Josh Braun and John Barrows. They've got everything that you need to know about email copywriting. So for email 1, what we like to do is we lead with the why now, why you, why now. While we answer that question. So basically, we'll either use AI, we'll use scraped data, we'll use our list to say to them, hey, the reason I'm reaching out right now is because of blank. And it's something going on in their business, something going on in the industry, something that we noticed about their business, whatever it might be. Then I like to transfer to a poke the bear question. Maybe we'll talk about this a little bit better, but this is where Josh Braun talks about asking a question to make the prospect think again about your offer. So there's a huge difference between asking somebody, how's training going for your Ironman versus how's training going for your Ironman so you don't get shin splints or, something like that. And we're going to get into it even more. And then we have our social proof, where we basically talk about, what quantitatively, what can we do for this person or company, and then our call to action. I like the, are you opposed to hearing more, or is this interesting to you, or all those calls to action. My personal favorite call to action for email 1 is, if we could help you accomplish blank, would that be useful to you? That's my favorite one here. So then email 2, since we're threading this email to email 1, we like to use this to provide more context on email 1. So if in our social proof, we said we helped another company get, actually we literally just got this today. Last year, over the course of the year, we helped somebody generate 317 leads from, I think it was June to the end of the year. And so we could say that as our social proof, of course. But what we didn't have time to say is how we did it. So then we get into email 2, and then we talk about how we generated that. So then we could talk about how, in that campaign in particular, what we did is we made a really, really clean list of marketing agency owners. And then we looked for 5 variables being true about the company. Do they have a finance team, and are they growing, and are they hiring people right now? Growth in the past, and then are they currently hiring people? Whatever it might be. And then they got a different campaign depending on what was true about them. And so then I could explain in more depth what we actually did. So if your offer, they didn't bite here, but maybe you've got something going on that piques their interest, we would do it right here. And so now email 3, we're going to do 2 things with email 3. 1, there's only 3 offers in B2B. There's 5 offers in the world. There's only 3 offers in B2B. The 5 offers in the world is you can help somebody save time, you can help them save money, you can help them make more money, you can help them live longer, or you can raise their status. 3 of those offers have to do with B2B. Save time, make more money, save money, right? In B2B, we're really not talking about making people healthier or raising their status. Maybe a little bit if you want to help them get promotions, but if you promise that, I'm really not sure how that's going to go over for you. And so in email 3, what we want to do is, if in email 1, we gave a value proposition around, I'm going to help you save time, they didn't respond to that. So in email 3, we want to swap it. And so now we're going to talk about how we can help them make more money, right? And so I've never really seen an offer that isn't possible to frame in all 3. And so I'll give you a good example. If somebody were to come to me and say, hey, we have a new email finding tool. I try every email finding tool that comes across my inbox, right? Try them all. Why not? But if they were to say, hey, we have a new email finding tool, it's finding leads faster than anybody else, I really wouldn't care, because we use clay.com. Everything's hooked up to an API. honestly, I really don't care if it takes 2 minutes to find an email address versus 10 seconds, because it's all hooked up with the API and it's all just going to run itself as it goes. So I don't really care about it moving faster. But if somebody says we have the same accuracy, if not better, and it's cheaper, okay, so now that's interesting. Still email data verification, but instead of talking about doing it faster, we're talking about it being cheaper, right? And that would pique my interest. So we want to change that. The other thing you want to consider in email 3 is you have just asked for a meeting twice and you did not get that meeting. So what we want to do in email 3 is lower the friction for them to respond. All I'm trying to do here is just get them to raise their hand to something. Oftentimes what we'll do is, if we have a under 2-minute video explaining how it works, I'll use a call to action like, hey, Josh, seriously, no need for the call right now. Could I send you a video to show you how it works? Google punishes me for sending links. So then we'll just get them to say yes. And now we know that this is a little bit more of an engaged lead. We can turn over the mobile phone number to our clients. We can help them connect with them on LinkedIn. We could follow up with them over email, all of these things. And so then email 4, like I said, I'm not a big believer in breakup emails. I think most of the time they're stupid, but there is evidence to suggest that if you signal to somebody that the end of your sequence is here, you will increase your response rate. You're going to get a lot of no's, don't get me wrong, but there's going to be yeses in there as well. And my hypothesis of this is, if you've emailed somebody 3 times and each time you caught them at a bad time, they want to respond, but they don't really know what to say, all of these things. Email 4 is where we can get them off the fence. Either you're going to say no or you're going to say yes. I just got to know which one it is. So my current favorite email 4, honestly, if you receive this from somebody that's not Growth Engine X, it's probably our client. I got to be honest. Well, after this video, who knows? Maybe not. So first name, I know there's about 200 employees over at Acme, and perhaps marketing automation is not your responsibility. Should I reach out to? And then we'll actually name another person at the company that we should be reaching out to. And we'll look for somebody who has a similar title that still fits the ICP. Now, honestly, we probably already sequenced this person, but if we can get this person to say, hey, I'm not in charge of this, but you're totally right, Mary's in charge of it, we have a lot more ammunition to go with Mary with. We'll put that on a primary domain and we'll send them an email from there. And so then people ask me all the time about TAM. And basically, I want you to read this. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Basically, when we do the math for TAM, right? So if you've got 10,000 people in your TAM, you probably shouldn't even hire like a scaled agency. 10,000. We've done leads with 10,000. So say you've got 300 people in your TAM. Don't hire my agency. It's there's no point. You can just take care of that yourself. But so if you only have 10,000 people in your TAM and you're getting 1 response for every 300 emails that you send, and you want 20 meetings a month, that's not going to last very long. So you need to be spending your time getting that number down as much as possible. But if you got 2 million people in your TAM and you're getting 1 positive response for every 300 leads that you contact, amp it up. The amount of time that's going to take you to scale that campaign versus maybe going from 300 to 200, don't even worry about it. Scale that thing up, get as many leads as you need to fill your pipeline, then start talking about going from that 300 to 200 number. We'll probably get more into that later. This part is the part that, if you're still watching the video by now, I probably should have started with this, and maybe I will create a video just on this part, because this has really helped me when we create campaigns. We basically found 10 campaigns, campaign angles that our campaigns fit in, that when they're really successful, they draw on one of these things. Now, oftentimes they do multiple things. Sometimes we use 3 of these angles in one campaign, but we found that if you include one of these things in a campaign, it just increases it a lot. And so you could read this on your own. I'm going to go through this a little bit quickly. So problem sniffing, if you could go to a company and you could say, hey, I was doing research on your company and I think you have this problem. If I'm right, could I help you fix that problem? You're going to get a response. So if you email somebody and you say, hey, I saw that Yelp review that somebody was complaining about all the holes in your parking lot. Can I pave your parking lot? You're going to increase your response rate a lot. Truly funny, relevant campaigns. Now, this gets a little risky because some people think things are funny and some people don't think that things are funny. This is actually a campaign that Jordan Crawford showed me one time where there was a pest control company that there was a bed bug outbreak in all of the hotels in Philadelphia. And they were cold emailing all of the property managers and the general managers of the hotel with this meme, basically saying, hey, we heard about the bed bugs, see the image below. And then they sent this and they said, hey, just kidding. But if you need somebody to take care of the bed bugs at your hotel, we're available on Tuesday to come over and everything. Crushed the campaign. It did really, really well. So that's why I say truly funny, relevant campaigns, because you don't want to just go off the deep end with something crazy. This one's one of my favorites. I haven't seen anybody else do this, so I will lay claim to this one. I love using AI to help a prospect envision what using your product or service is going to be. And so this doesn't work for things like if you're selling QuickBooks, this isn't going to work. Everybody uses QuickBooks and they use it basically the same way. You're tracking financial data, right? But if you're selling a software like clay.com, there's so many ways that one company might use it versus the way another company might use it. And so what we do is we scan their website and we scan their LinkedIn profile, and we write an AI generated response of how they could really take advantage of it. We get really awesome responses on this. Stars aligning. This is just when we use data to send a really, really good message because we know that this person has all these problems and we hit on all of those problems when we're going through it. Very much suggest for you to read all of this. Extremely relevant case studies. We've seen awesome success with this. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. If I were to go to any outbound sales tech company or even MarTech company, or maybe not even just outbound sales tech, if we were just go to a sales tech company and I were to say what we were able to accomplish for clay.com while I was working there and just tell that story, people are going to be interested by that. And so this one's pretty self-explanatory. Influencer audience targeting. If there's ever an influencer who agrees with our hypothesis on the market and they talk about it publicly, I like to use them as like third-party proof and say like, look, this person said this, and you know what? We actually totally agree. We built a whole company off this hypothesis. And so that's another good one. Having a great lead magnet, you can run a whole campaign just having a really great lead magnet. And so what we'll email people with is we'll just say, hey, I think that you sell to VPs of sales and chief revenue officers, and you help them solve the problem of whatever outbound automation. That being considered, would you want to hop on a call and I'll give you a list of 5,000 leads for absolutely free? So they know that depending on what provider this comes from, this is worth anywhere from $500 to, well, it's worth anywhere from $50 to like $500, maybe even $1,000, depending on what provider gives this to them. And we'll build it all for them and just give it to them for free on a call. And so this is a lead magnet that works really, really great for us. Being genuinely useful. This is just, emailing somebody and saying, look, I found this problem. I think you should take a look at it. Our software does this so easily. I was able to do this for you without ever talking to you. Please, let me know. 2-sentence email straight to the point. This could even be a 1-sentence email. This is basically, one time, one of our great campaigns that we ran, we were about to niche down on staffing and recruiting, and then we went in a different direction because of some problems we found with it. The email we sent to get meetings with them was literally, hey, I just helped another staffing and recruiting firm. We would name drop the firm. I just helped another firm get, I think we would even say enough job orders that they had to hire another recruiter. Could I send you the video of how we did it? And then they would get the video. The video had a Calendly link. We would follow up with everybody that we sent the video to, all of those things. And we just really, really short, straight to the point. Flash roll. You should really read this one. This is just basically showing a prospect that you know exactly what you're talking about. You know their problem really well. You know that you can solve it, and you speak into their stuff. Excellent. So copywriting tips and so these are just our copywriting tips and best practices. Honestly, read through this yourself. I'm not really gonna talk through a lot of this. Actually, this one I'm going to talk through. This one I think is so genius. So oftentimes we should be handling objections that are in a prospect's mind already. And so I saw this in my hometown and I thought this was absolutely genius. So it says, we are not looking for heroes, just neighbors. Now recruiting volunteer firefighters. Freaking awesome, right? Because they are speaking right into your objection right away. So if somebody asked me, hey, do you want to be a firefighter? I'd be like, I can't, like, I'm not Batman. Like, I'm not going to go into a burning building and, save people and stuff. And you'd be right, but that's not what they do. The volunteer firefighters are way less involved in very, very dangerous fires than the professionals, right? They'll call in the professionals for the very dangerous fires. And so they said, we're not looking for heroes, just neighbors. I'm a neighbor, it fits me perfectly. And so they're speaking straight into that objection. I just freaking love it. Here's some copywriting examples. Read through this yourself. Let's see. This is another hill that I'm going to die on. I see way too many people on LinkedIn saying that GPT 3.5, GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo, it's not there. It's not good enough to write cold emails for you. Totally disagree. We have a client that we tried everything for them. And we tried, and I'll get into it, but we tried all these things. The email that was just generated with artificial intelligence by scraping the website and giving suggestions. Remember, using AI to help somebody envision what using your product would look like. That campaign outperformed the next best campaign by literally 100%. The only campaign that got close to it was just giving a free offer to join a Facebook group. And so I wouldn't even compare those two. And so here we targeted newly hired team members, 61 opportunities. Well, don't look at the 61 opportunities because it's got to be like, 61 for all of the leads that we sent. So anyway, campaign to target people using a competitor platform. Did okay. Messaging founders about founder-led sales. Case study matching. Something that was 2 sentences straight to the point, right? Campaign matching the technographics of the campaign. Wow, how did that even happen? Whoops. Right? Campaign to join a free community. This was a very good ratio. And then here was our AI generated campaign. 225 opportunities. And we were sending 2 emails. This is like 10,000 leads, I think. It was or whatever this shook out to be. This was the greatest one that it crushed everything else. And so I always tell people AI can definitely write your campaigns and you should totally do it. So here we have some common data workflows that we use very often in the agency that I just wanted to list out for everybody. All of these link to YouTube videos that are already on my channel. Check them out. So Daniel Fazio and Christian Bonnier talk about demand generation versus demand capture and then awareness. And I think they are so spot on with this that I put this into the document. Totally credit to them. They talk about this. I learned it from them, but I think they're really spot on. So there's these spectrums that you need to consider when you're launching a campaign. How aware are your prospects of your solution? And do you have a demand capture solution or do you have a demand generation solution, right? And so a high awareness offer is bookkeeping. Everybody knows that bookkeeping is possible. I don't know a single entrepreneur that you could walk up to and say, hey, did you know that there's somebody else who can manage your QuickBooks? And it's so obvious. Low awareness would be when I first started my agency, we would help people run and promote LinkedIn events. And so the LinkedIn events would get a ton of, like one time we got a LinkedIn event to like 4,000 people. There was a ton of people registered for that LinkedIn event. It builds your email list really well, gives a lot of great social proof. And then what it also does is, of course, you can run the event and then you've got people on your freaking webinar. It's great. And so when I would talk to people about this, they didn't even know that LinkedIn had events and they didn't even know that you could get people's emails from the LinkedIn event. Like they didn't even know that this was possible, right? So they had really, really low awareness about it. And so then you need to, now after you decide what level of the awareness spectrum you're on, you have to decide what level of the demand capture versus demand generation spectrum you're on. SOC 2 compliance is very much a demand capture offer. It's not like you can just walk up to somebody and say, hey, I know maybe you weren't thinking about getting SOC 2 compliant today, but would you consider it? It's not really going to happen. The goals of the organization are going to shift and they're going to say, all right, now we need to get SOC 2 compliant. We are losing too many enterprise deals. It's time to get it done, right? And so then when you email them, when they've decided those goals, you're going to be in a really good spot and you're going to be able to capture that demand. So On the flip side, you have demand generation, where if nobody was waking up and saying, oh, I really want to run a LinkedIn event today, but if I explain to them, oh, hey, we've got this LinkedIn event strategy, we can help build your list, the cost per email is turning out to this, would you want to talk? We can generate that demand, right? And so sometimes demand capture versus demand generation also goes along with the awareness, but sometimes it's completely different. And so like manufacturing companies, they have an issue with it. So it would be demand capture if you have a warehouse and you are cold emailing e-commerce stores that need warehousing space. They know that warehousing space exists, but they don't know that your warehousing space exists, and they don't know that your warehousing space exists and it's right next to the port and it's super easy to get, shipments to them. They don't know that it's available, right? So that's an example where it is still demand capture, but it's low awareness. They don't know that you exist and they could really use you, but it could be the wrong time because they have contracts with all these other warehouses, right? And so then demand generation, when there's high awareness, probably could go back to the email validation thing. I know that email validation tools and email finding tools exist, but if you hit me with some good copy about how yours is the same quality as other tools and it's cheaper, you're going to generate my demand, right? I'm always in the mood to look at an email finding tool. And so, this is super important. Follow those guys for that stuff. I definitely wanted to include it and talk a little bit about that. And then the hardest thing for me to put this together that was stopping me the most was this campaign overviews part. So I actually put together our best campaign from the year. So it was when we did outreach for Forbes, and we got 3 leads. So for every 3 leads we reached out to, we got 1 positive response. And our worst campaign, for every 5,000 leads we reached out to, we got a positive response. And this was for cybersecurity. And so I wanted to show the difference between the two of them. And then after that, we also have all of the campaigns that I have data on. We ran probably 3 times as many campaigns as this last year, but I deleted them and I don't have the data anymore, and I didn't want to just make stuff up. And so here we have 60 something campaigns all scored and put in, and I have a description of everything. And yeah, this is probably the most interesting part of this entire document. This is the benchmarking part that I was talking about. So the average that we see as far as, say, open rate, right? We'll keep scrolling up. Average open rate that we see was 52%. This was really because some people had, 60 to 70% open rate is a really good open rate. And then sometimes some people had bad offers and they were really dragging down our average. And then the average lead per positive response was 329 for the data that we have. I don't want to say that we're such an amazing agency, that we were doing this for everybody, because you even see Nick Abraham here. He's saying that if you get 1 lead for every 375 people you reach out to, that's what he has in his agency. I will say that our data skews lower, possibly because I deleted all of the bad campaigns, most likely. Like, why would we keep them on? So I do want to call myself out for that. But anyway, I wanted to present this document to you. If you're still here after 32 minutes, thank you. I really appreciate it. But so with that being said, I hope you learned something from this. I hope you got some, idea of the way that we run things. I also hope that something came up from you and you're like, hey, Eric, you didn't mention this thing in your document. Do you want to talk about it? I'm always open to talking on DMs and things like that. So, thanks guys for watching the video.